What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Metaphysical Babes channel. I'm Kathy. Today, I want to talk about the ego and how the ego loves to thrive in labeling, in mental chattering. It has a tendency to want to take us either backwards or a little too much forward. One thing I realized, and that was about a decade ago when I discovered Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, in which he talked about the ego and how it is associated with the self. It is associated with having, with knowing, with needing. And all these things, you know what they do? They keep us in a state of lack. Instead of trusting, we are hanging on to things that truly do not serve us. If there's anything that we know, it is simply that I am. Or you can relay it back to breathing. That's the only thing that we are aware of. Anything else that is happening on the inside, we don't know. But we simply are. You simply be, and it happens. So I want to talk about today how removing or killing the ego or removing mental chattering, labelings can automatically put you in a state of abundance. When you are in that awareness, it's as if this emptiness creates itself and it expands. It's limitless. And when you are there, anything is possible. We become truly limitless. Eckhart Tolle said that the ego, which is associated with the self, was what pretty much is what kept or keeps humanity in suffering, because we are identifying with things that do not really make the true beings that we are, like I just said. So I'll give you an example. And if you don't know, in his book, A New Earth, he mentioned that one day he woke up and he had this persisting thought, I cannot live with myself any longer or anymore. And he had an epiphany. He said, but who is the I that cannot live with the self? I cannot live with myself anymore. And he really wanted to kill himself. And he was contemplating suicide. But then at that moment, there was this sort of like duality, the I and the self. And that was the beginning of a great journey for him, which gave us The Power of Now, which is the first book he wrote. And then, of course, The New Earth, which I just mentioned. And it's with that book that I discovered all about the ego. And I remember myself that the time of discovering or finding this book, or this book finding me, I was heavily drowned in the ego self. At the time, I felt like a failure. I felt that I was very behind. Everybody else was doing better and I wasn't. And those things I thought I knew. Let's just say that the ego will have you in a chokehold because you start believing everything that it's telling you. You really do, unfortunately. And if you're not careful, these are the very thoughts that the ego bring up to the surface that can either get you depressed, that can always have you in the state of lack, never being good enough, never finding love, never beautiful enough, never skinny enough, or too big, and the list goes on and goes on. Now, I just want to allow myself to talk here, or the I am to talk here as I delve into this whole notion of the ego and how it is important to allow the ego to die. And it's one of the most painful deaths because the ego even within a child, you can start seeing the ego. The child associates him or herself with their toys. And Eckhart Tolle talks about that in his book as well. Everything is mine, my toy, my car, my doll. And it's as if, you become one with those things. You are just, you know, you're melted into this, these material things. And if the car gets scratched, it's as if you got scratched, not realizing that these things are just things that have nothing to do with our true and pure, limitless self. So bear with me here, because at 3 a.m., these thoughts were coming to me and I welcomed them, but as a way to understand a lot of things that I was thinking about. I'm thinking about what I want this channel to become. I'm thinking about, should I keep talking about Haitian spirituality? Should I make it more open? Should I talk about myself and how I've been able to manifest things or help other people? And so on and so on and so on. And I had a moment where I just simply said, I don't know. And that I don't know came with peace. It came with serenity. And then I was able to separate the self that was thinking so much, wanting to do so much, wanting to have so much, be so much, do so much, have so much. And I simply said, well, I don't know. The only thing I know is I am. So I'm going to invite you on this journey of embracing the unknown. Embracing the unknown as a way to kill the ego so that we can allow trust to step in, so that we can allow abundance to come through. And I'm going to explain to you how the moment I had decided that I didn't know anything, and I'm not just talking about last night, I'm talking about over a decade ago when I had my first glimpse of the death of the ego. There was so much peace and serenity in my life at the time. And it was as if things were just happening effortlessly for me, and there's so many stories I can tell you, but just for today, I want to introduce you to this notion of not knowing. I know that people talk about, bringing your awareness to the things that you know, and I mean, to the things that you desire, your manifestation. You know that it's coming, right? And I've even talked about this in previous videos where I knew that I wanted a car. All I knew was I knew I was going to get the car. I didn't know how, but I knew I was going to get it. And it, in ways for me to get it appeared, right? Effortlessly. But it also comes with not knowing, right? That same notion of knowing for certain. And they talk about, in this community here, a lot of people talk about knowing like you know your name. But what if you didn't know your name? What if you woke up tomorrow and had no recollection of your name? Because your name is just a label. It's just like when you're looking at a flower, you decide to call it a lily or a sunflower or a rose. But the rose itself doesn't know that it's called a rose. It just is. A lion doesn't know that it is called a lion. It just is. It has its natural power. It moves with its natural power. It does what it needs to do. Just as the ocean doesn't know that it is called an ocean and that it needs to create the waves or this or that. It just is. So we're going to remove this notion of knowing something by acknowledging that we don't know. I think if I'm not mistaken, it was either Socrates or Plato that said that the first sign of intelligence is admitting not knowing anything. I think so. If not, please, put it in the comment section. If I woke up tomorrow and I forgot my name, there is only one thing that would remain. It is the I am. I don't know, but I am. I don't know anything at all, but I am. I will never know anything at all, but I am. And when that clicked in my head last night, that particular part here that I'm talking about, I said, well, isn't that interesting? Everything that I was carrying on my back, or I thought up until that moment I was carrying on my back, just dropped. And I embraced that being, that I amness. And my awareness, that space between the I and the am, or the I and the self, was that awareness that exists between the I and the self, between the I and the am, which Eckhart Tolle talks about as well. And it's the most beautifully written book that I think everybody should really find a way to read it, or at least listen to the audio. No crazy words, used in this in that book. So simply put, but yet makes so much sense, at least for me, for my, I guess, what I needed at the time. But maybe it might resonate with you. Maybe it might help you and open your eyes and help you just get rid of the ego, to allow the presence of the awareness of the I am to be there, because this is what we are. No fancy words. I keep thinking about people and how they have all kinds of terms to explain things. How about we just don't know, and we agree that we don't know? I know for the human mind, again, which is associated with the ego, that we need to understand things. Why is the sky blue? Why does it rain? Why is the snow white? All those things, right, that we label, and then we create those mental chatters. And sometimes we even argue with those things in our heads. We argue with other people in our heads, over these things. You just simply go into any comment section on YouTube under those videos. You will see how the ego is just at each other's throat, because somebody didn't understand this correctly, or 1 + 1 is not 2, it's 45. It's like so much, that we fall into the trap of the ego. And then we wonder why we are lacking, that we cannot manifest, and that we cannot, really have the things that we truly desire, right? Well, it is because of those things that we spend our time just labeling things. And when Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead, it is those thoughts, those dead thoughts. We argue with even dead people in our head sometimes, dead situations, dead thoughts, dead, you name it. How about we just agree that we don't know, and just allow yourself to allow the I amness to be there, to be present, because it always is, until the end of time, until, breathing does help bring you back to that awareness, because your awareness is life force energy. By giving your awareness to those things, to people, to whatever is happening on the outside, you're giving life to them. Your presence is life itself, like a generator that gives electricity to something and brings it to life. It's a switch that you turn on that keeps it illuminated. Your awareness, your presence, your energy. So by simply not knowing, this energy remains inside, where everything is happening inside. Do we know anything on the outside? Really, we don't know, but internally we do know. Like the heart knows to do what it needs to do to keep us alive. You know, the liver knows what it needs to do to keep you alive. Your lungs, they do know what to do to keep you breathing. So if there's anything that knows, it's really that intelligence that is happening within, which is what Jesus refers to as the kingdom within, the kingdom of God. Listen, I don't see, but I am. I don't speak, but I am, but I am. I don't hear, but I am. I don't see, but I am. A blind man does not need, well, who does not see, obviously, who's blind, but he is. I am. If you ask him, yes, I don't see, but I am. He is in this moment. Everything else is happening. Bring yourself back to that awareness that I am, and you will see that everything comes to you. I'll give you a quick story. And I remember after I did massive work, when I say massive, not massive really, just meditating and bringing my awareness to the present moment, to the now, without labeling anything. If any thought would arise as far as wanting to label a situation or somebody or anything, right? I would say, I don't know, but I am, right? And at the time, I wanted to manifest moving to London for university, and I kept going back to, I don't know, but I am. And I would meditate, I would listen to binaural beats, like things like that, right? To help me in the present moment. And there are a lot of exercises too in the book, A New Earth, if you want to check it out. So I did that, and I woke up one day with just this calmness, this serenity. Even when I was in traffic, it felt, it's okay. I don't know, but I'm here. I don't know, but I am. I remember going through, I don't know if it was the George Washington Bridge or one bridge in New York, and I didn't realize that, or I had forgot. Actually, I had lost my route, and it took me to a bridge where I was supposed to pay the toll, and I didn't have any change on me. And I did not panic. And I remember I took my mother's car, and, and I was with my little sister, and I didn't panic. And as I got to the toll booth, it's like I knew I was gonna find the money somehow. It was something like $5, something like that. And I looked around, and I found exactly the $5 to give to the guy at the toll booth. I'll never forget that. And when I got in, I think I needed to do something, I think renew my passport or something like that. And when I got there, and then the guy said, it wasn't supposed to be today or something like that, or you're missing this paper, but you know what? I'm gonna let it go through for you, and there you go, right? And it was just like everything was just happening, like the way that your heart naturally beats to keep you alive, right? It was the outside was also following that same rhythm, and it kept going like that for me. And I was just in awe, and it felt like I was on a cloud, And that's when I realized that when we agree to say that we don't know, but acknowledge that I am, everything falls into place. I invite you to do this, and I'm going to end this video here because I think it's long enough. I'm going to invite you to do this. Anything that you see happening in front of you that does not align with your desires or with your I amness, just simply say, I don't know, but I am. I don't know anything at all, but I am. I will never know anything at all, but I am. And you can add phrases like, I am breathing, I am whole, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am supported, I am sheltered, I am fed, I am happy. You can add those phrases. I don't know, but I am sheltered. I don't know, but my bills are paid. So by doing that, it'll allow peace And it's just allowing trust, going with this, the trusting of that your heart is beating the way that, do you even know how it happens? Yes, science has explanation for it, but it's just a seeming, explanation. But do we know? We see the sun rises and it goes down, but do we really know how is everything the way that it is, the way that the moon is perfectly suspended, the earth is perfectly suspended, in this vastness? It just is. So do we know? We don't know, but everything is. I am. I don't know. So I'm inviting you to do that. And I hope this video resonates with you. I don't know, but I am. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, my email will be in the description box. God bless you. Let's continue to prosper together.